Assalamu alaikum everyone and welcome back to Learn to Read Quran. So an exciting lesson today because we are reading our first surah. So with everything that we've learnt so far, we're going to put it all into practice now with Surah Al Fatiha. And what a better way to start, but this is the opening chapter of the Quran. So you can see here at the top here we've got Surah Al Fatiha, and the first line here is the first ayah, which is the Basmala. So for some scholars, the Basmala is part of Surah Fatiha. We are reading it that way. We spoke about this in last time's class, that before you begin to read Quran, you need to make the isti'adah. And we went through that in the last class. So please look at the last class video if you haven't gone through that. So we will start here on line 1. I'll try and do this as slowly as I possibly can without it getting annoying, hopefully. And that way you can follow along. So we will work through the pronunciation of this surah slowly. So first of all, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. That's the isti'adah. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. I don't know what I did this one for. That was just the double pronunciation of the ra with the shadda. Remember, when we stop, we pretend there is a sukoon, we pretend there is no vowel. But like I said, we did that all last time. So let's carry on. Here we have a hamzat al-wasl. Everybody, how do we start with a hamzat al-wasl? If you do not know, if your mind is a blank, please go back to the class on the hamzat al-wasl. We start as if this is a true hamza with a fatha because of the lam after it. So, alhamdu lillahi rabbil alamin. As if it has a sukoon. Lots going on there, everybody. I hope you noticed, for example, the lam with the kasra, actually has just changed to my red, lam with the kasra, and so that the 2-count stretch in the word Allah here is light. The lam in the word Allah there is light because we're coming at it with the kasra. Hopefully everybody saw that. So let's carry on. Here again, we're starting as if we have a hamza with a fatha. We're missing out the lam because it has nothing on. We're on this line here. We're missing out the lam because it has nothing on. So, ar-Rahmanir-Rahim. Again, as if we have a sukoon. That should be easy. Actually, this line should be easy because this is part of the Basmala, and we have done this a few times now. Let's move on. Line 4. Maliki yawmiddin. The next line, the next ayah number 5. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. Ayah number 6. So everybody, Hamzat al-Wasl again, but it's not followed by a lam. Again, if you're coming up a blank as to how to start, what vowel to start with, you definitely need to go back to that Hamzat al-Wasl page. Okay, so, well, for those who didn't come up with a blank, hopefully you came up with the fact that it is a kasra, because the third letter here, the dal, has a kasra. So, I'm starting as if I have a hamza with a kasra. Di nasi را طال مستقيم. So what shall I point out in here that I want to make sure that nobody gets wrong? Well, first of all, the ha, make sure you give time because of the sukun. Make sure you give time to the sad. It is thick and heavy, and there is two sads in one place because you have a shadda on that sad. Make sure your ra is thick and heavy. Make sure your ta is thick and heavy, but that the lam, when you join to it, is not thick and heavy. And that, I think that's about all I want to point out in that line. So let's carry on. Line 7. Now you'll see at the end of line 7, there's no Arabic number. See these Arabic numbers that were at the end. There's no Arabic number because this isn't actually end of the ayah. The ayah actually goes from line 7 and line 8. The ayah ends here. But it's a pretty long ayah, so we can actually stop here at the end here. And that's what we're going to do. Because for teaching purposes, if nothing else, we need to take this slowly. So we have صي را طل ذي ن أن عم ت عليهم. So that was reasonably straightforward. You just had to remember the sad was heavy, the ra with the 2 count stretch is heavy, that the ta is heavy. And then you have to make sure that you get this hamza nice and sharp as compared to the ain, which is made from the middle of the throat and has that softer sound. But everything else on there, I think, was reasonably okay. Let's go now for this bottom line. We have ghay, so the ra is nice and thick and heavy. غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Gosh, that was a mouthful, that last one. Did you spot that one coming? I'm actually going to take off the markings and we're going to look at this again because hopefully you'll have realized that that last stretch on the bod was a 6 stretch. So let's move to our important red pen. Ghay, which is a thick, heavy ghain. Ril, the ra is light. Mal, the ghain here is thick and heavy, and give it some time because otherwise you'll miss it. Remember, every letter with sukun gets a bit more time. Bu, the bod with a 2 count stretch here. B. Lay him. Okay, this is where you have to gear yourself up. Wa, and now look, the lam here is going up and over, joining to the bod. We're not using this alif. We're not using the hamza to wasl. We're not using the lam. We are joining from the lam to the bod. And the bod has a shadda, that's why we can join, but also we need to give it time. So if I join into the first bod, the bod with the sukoon in that shadda would be lab. So hopefully my microphone is picking up this sort of splurge of sound. You've got this sound that just continues. So I've got wa, lab. There's the first bod. Then I've got to say the second bod in continuation with the fatha. And look here. Now you would have thought to yourself, well, but that's just a squiggly med. That's a 4 count stretch. But look, this lam has a shadda. Which means that when you have a squiggly med followed by a letter with a shadda, you need to have a 6 count stretch. And it must be a 6 count stretch. You can't say to yourself, oh, I don't think I can be bothered with a 6 count stretch. It must be. It must be a 6 count stretch. It is compulsory to make that stretch 6. So we have from the wow, we're taking it from the wow here. Wa la dallin. Notice I gave a bit more time to the lam as well because the lam has a shadda and therefore you need to sound out and give enough time for the sound of 2 lambs, and then you get your 2 count stretch at the end there. But this one, a whopping great 6 stretch. There was a lot there. In the booklet, you'll see that Surah Fatiha is the first surah that we go through. And it isn't the easiest, as you've most already realized as we've gone through this lesson. But it is the opening chapter of the Quran, and not just that, it is compulsory to know this to be able to pray your compulsory 5 times a day salah. So that is why we start with Surah Fatiha. Next time's class will be just a little bit easier because we're then going to go all the way to the back of the Quran and start with those shorter chapters. And not that, I mean, Quran is Quran, wherever you read it. It's not like the beginning is hard and then it gets easier as you get towards the end, but it is generally easier to start with short verses to read, short ayahs to read. But that's what we'll be doing next time, inshallah. In the meantime, please do go over this lesson, and elsewhere on this YouTube channel, you'll find where I've gone through the pronunciation of Surah Fatiha for those absolute complete beginners who don't know a scrap of Arabic and need to use the transliteration. So perhaps you could listen to that if you needed to go over the pronunciation. But you guys are good, aren't you? You guys can read. So I'm sure you've been able to do this and read this Surah Fatiha with me while we've been going through it in the class excellently. I'm sure you're all doing really well. So well done. And inshallah, I'll see you all again next time. Assalamu alaikum.